Some of the content covered may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tokyo, Japan, 1954. An inbound plane from Europe offloads its passengers at Haneda Airport for a routine customs check. A well-dressed man claiming to be on business presents paperwork from a country that doesn't exist. Was this man a con artist, or did he just take a trip through the multiverse?
All right, so this story here, have you guys ever heard of the Man From Taured?
Yes, actually, I have. I was just, I was going to do that one.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
No, I've never heard of it.
I beat you to it. So, the Man From Taured. This takes place in 1954, Tokyo, Japan. At Haneda Airport, a plane inbound from Europe landed and unloaded all of its passengers. At customs, a man dressed in business attire was stopped by agents for routine questioning. He had mentioned that this was one of his three business trips to Japan that year. And the man's primary language was French, but he also spoke Japanese and a few other languages as well. He also had many different forms of currency on him, so that kind of led to him being, just a traveler and, a lot of business travel. Let's see here. Also, the customs agents then asked him his country of origin, to which he answered Taured, located between France and Spain. Confused, the agents told him that Taured did not exist, but the man then presented them with a passport issued from the country of Taured, and it was filled out with stamps from other countries. Let's see here. The border agents then called the company that he was supposed to be meeting with, and they had they'd never heard of him, and they didn't have any appointments to meet with them. They then called the hotel that he was supposed to stay at, and they didn't have any reservation for him as well. The agents then gave the man a map to point out where Taured was, but they also thought that he might be confused with Andorra, which is the country between France and Spain. The man then was obviously visibly upset. He said Taured had been around for thousands of years and that Andorra did not exist. This then led them to detain the man overnight in a nearby hotel. When they went to go get him the next morning, he had completely vanished. And it was impossible for him to jump out of the window because of how high it was. It would have killed him. He couldn't scale the building either, so they ruled that out pretty quickly. They also went back to the what's it called? The customs office, and all of his paperwork and stuff had vanished as well. So there's no documentation like that this officially happened, but it has appeared in many books and also been covered on many YouTube channels. So they think that this might be an instance of someone going through the multiverse, very similar to like how the Mandela effect works. So but yeah, that's the story.
Was there a guard stationed outside his door?
Yeah, no, they said that there was like,
or policemen or
yeah,
whatever.
there was some people there to watch him to make sure that
wow,
he didn't leave. But
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty wild. Shit, I kind of had some stuff rolling in my head since I was thinking about doing this one.
Do you want to go ahead?
Go ahead.
'Cause I got a question though. So you said it was never officially documented, but is it a legend or is it real?
Essentially, it's a legend of some sort. I mean, like I said, it's appeared in books. Plenty of YouTube channels have covered this. We're not going to be the first one, probably not the last.
Right.
But just strange in the fact that
where did he go?
This has been talked about many, many times. So yeah, and they think that maybe just like the Mandela effect, where somebody slipped through one of those in-between areas of like the multiverse. And so where this country existed and one country did not, but he was like the odd man out. I don't know.
Right. Weird.
I mean, this is kind of just to go over the things of what potentially could have happened. It's not hard, at least for today's day and age, to get a fake passport or fake a passport.
No.
Clearly this could be one of those games of telephone where something on a very small scale may have happened, and then just down the line it just snowballs into a much larger story.
The fact that then it also disappeared. But if you think about like the 1950s and 60s, licenses and passport, all like official documents, most of them didn't have, I'm pretty sure, didn't have like photo identification on it. You know, like when you go back to like the Shawshank Redemption, like where they talk about like Andy in the 40s, or well, it was the 60s by the time he escaped, he had all the proper documentation and he was able to forge that stuff from prison. Now, granted, I know it's a movie, but you know.
Oh, but that stuff still happened.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely.
I would say it's a lot easier to fake, you know, at that time. I mean, think of even like Frank Abagnale. He was able to forge checks for many, many years and official documentation for pilots and fly all over the world. I think he flew like 2 million miles for free in the pilot jump seat. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is a story very similar to like someone who was like Frank Abagnale that just went from place to place and didn't really have an identity. You know, who knows?
But I guess it kind of comes down to why would you make your citizenship a fake country? Like, what is the benefit of that?
That's true.
Someone, especially in like customs and relating. Now, like airport security and travel security is way higher than it ever was. Like, you know, during that time. But like, someone is going to look into that. You know what I mean? Like, what is the benefit of doing that?
Well, the bigger thing too is, I mean, if this is a true story, where the hell did he go? Well, how did he disappear in that apartment? If there's a guard outside or policeman outside and it was too high of a building to jump, and all his documentation disappeared? You know?
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it just vanished.
Well, then you could also be like, the dude could have just paid anyone off that was watching him and just let him walk out the front door.
Sure.
I mean, not the same example, but Ted Bundy escaped prison wearing a guard's uniform.
Well, no, he escaped once wearing a guard's uniform.
Yeah, but he walked out the front door.
Right.
You know, people don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. So if you're just a dude who was, you know, held in a cell, like an actual cell.
No, he was in a hotel room. They put him up in a hotel room. That's what this says.
Okay. So,
and there was people guarding the hotel room.
Yeah, but nobody is going to think twice of some guy just walking around a hotel. If he gets out of his room,
sure.
I mean, you know what I mean? How often do you actually make eye contact and pay attention to someone you see at any public
And you could
place?
easily pay off a hotel employee.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They
like,
could
so
easily be paid off, right?
And so you said the 50s is when this actually took
54.
place? 54. Okay, so we're not talking about like a ton of surveillance.
No,
you know?
None at all, probably.
Yeah, probably not at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, all right, so this leads me to the next question. You think the multiverse is something that's real?
Yes, I do think that there is something. Man, that's a question that's really hard to answer with just a yes or no. Because
Do you believe that there's a universe where everything, like, one of the things that I saw that kind of led me down this path to doing this one was like, somebody's like, well, in the multiverse, you're the one giving the speech and I'm watching. Like, I mean, there's infinite possibilities. Like, that is the part that I think is so hard to wrap your head around, that there's literally infinite possibilities to your life. But yet I'm still stuck in this one.
Yeah, but then why wouldn't there be?
Sure.
You know?
No, I agree.
And you hear about a lot of different type of time slip, like, which is essentially the same thing.
Time travelers?
Time travelers, like, and was it CERN, I think, had come out and said they found, like, the possibility of time travel actually does exist. And don't quote me on it being CERN, because I don't know 100% that's what it was. But even, like, the one story that I did, that Robert Victor Goddard, who talked about, you know, seeing planes and like an airport or seeing like planes in a airstrip that was from stuff that hadn't existed until 20 years later or 10 years later, whatever the time frame was. It was in the future.
Sure,
you know, and he was able to pinpoint like this color jumpsuits, these kind of planes, and everyone was like, no, it's, you know, it's this broken down airstrip that's nothing.
You're right.
You know, so
yeah, it's one of these things that I've always loved and like been fascinated with. I think because, and more so like going back as opposed to forward, you know, in time, but like, you know, a lateral move in time is still interesting as well, where like the past is different than what you remember it. And it's almost like creepy in a way of, you know, everything that you know could potentially be wrong.
What about like deja vu? You know, I mean, something like that is that I think we all have a deja vu moment, don't we?
Sure.
Yeah, I think deja vu is more along the lines of like past life experiences. I've heard it explained more that way. Not saying that you're wrong. I mean, it's just a different spin on it. Like,
right.
But yeah, that absolutely could be like something you've experienced and you don't remember it. Like, okay, so let's play the devil's advocate of saying everything does exist. If you were to somehow slip through and go to a parallel universe, would you remember it? Would you remember how the world was when you slipped through if you end up slipping back? Or is that going to be like deja vu or a dream where you're like, man,
all right, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but like very similar. Let's go to Hollywood, like Back to the Future, right? Favorite movie of all time. Like Marty in the beginning, he knows his life is like his dad's a wimp, a pushover. He goes back and changes the past. Is when he goes back to 1985 at the end of the movie and he sees himself, going back in time, is the Marty that he sees that goes back in time, is it the same one, or has his life been different and he knows a different past? You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things that I always think about when I watch him. Like, is 1985 B Marty, like, does he understand or does he know what 1985 Marty does? Like, or is it that point where he actually travels, where the universe then shifts and like spins? I don't know.
Well, I think that the way you're explaining it would mean that there was actually only one Marty, and Universe B Marty, who sees Universe A Marty running to see him, would only exist from Universe A Marty, because Universe B would have no reason to be there.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
And then he would vanish into existence.
Right.
So
yeah, that's something that you can just snowball.
Right, but it just keeps cycling. And the other thing too is like, how did Doc know he had to do everything right, or did he plan everything for 30 years to make sure that the change and everything goes according to plan so that they don't end up in a paradox? Because he's always talking about paradoxes throughout the movie. And then he's like, well, what about all that talk? He's like, man, what the hell? He clearly doesn't give a fuck. Like,
right.
He's willing to put everything on it by driving a car towards him and a kid. I mean, all the chips are on the table at that point. So,
but oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah. So I mean, that's like Twilight Zone shit right there. All the stuff we're talking about. But it's funny when you watch a lot of episodes of Twilight Zone. There's a lot of things that he comes up with that you really have to really wonder about.
Well, he taps into like not only just like a creepy story, but you watch those characters go through like a psychiatric moment, because he's basically manipulating their reality as they know it. And for someone to be on the flip side of that is terrifying.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a lot more. I don't know that I believe. You asked him if he believed in that. Yeah. Was it multiplex?
No,
multiverse.
No, that is a movie theater with many theaters.
You can watch all these movies there, but
what's it called again?
The multiverse.
Multiverse. Like, I never really tapped into any of that. I don't know much about that, but
multiple parallel universes existing at the same time.
Right.
That's why he said laterally.
Right. And the thing is, we don't know. I mean, NASA still goes up and finds all kind of things. I'm talking about the universe and space, but how much stuff do we learn? How much do we know about the universe, though?
How much do I know?
And, not we.
I know all of it.
You know everything?
Yeah.
I know you're better.
Why do you think he's here?
I know. He's a know-it-all. He's a scientist. But seriously, but how much do we know?
Probably a fraction of a percent.
How big is the universe?
What if, like,
right?
What if, like, the universe literally was only the size of our universe, but through black holes,
it's tiny.
All the other universes make it seem huge, but actually you're not seeing an area that's occupying space. You're seeing a time.
Well, no, I mean, even think about to the end of Men in Black. They zoom out of Earth through the galaxy, through the universe, and it's just a fucking marble.
Yeah,
that like aliens are playing with.
But what if all of those like little galaxies and universes you see are actually different points in time, and they're not actually a place? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, and and if you were to, let's say you traveled 65 million light years away, right, and then we're able to look back at the Earth as a telescope through like a telescope. The theory is that you'd be able to see dinosaurs.
Right.
Like you could see Earth, you would. Because you're essentially looking back in time.
Right.
And, Stephen Hawking, he just passed away recently.
Yeah.
His theory was that, when you die, you're going into another. We're dealing with death, but still, you're going into I believe he said, like a parallel universe.
Sure.
Something along those lines. Don't quote me if that's what he said,
Well,
but you go into another dimension after you die.
But why not?
Okay, and so
You know?
did you guys watch or listen to Alex Jones? He made up with like
Joe Rogan. I didn't watch it, but I saw it.
Some of the stuff they were talking about kind of like freaked me out in a sense where they were talking about that drug that people take and like why some of these things are considered illegal or whatnot. And again, I'm paraphrasing here, but like the mind is always gated, and so some of these substances or whatever you take actually open the gate a little bit, and so that you can actually see other things and see more stuff that's real because your mind's naturally gated off, and so taking these substances opens that gate. And they were talking about like that parallel universe that you go into when you die, or the next step, like taking those drugs is kind of like a bridge, like you can see across it or open a window that's maybe shuttered by taking those kind of drugs.
Well, wasn't there and I apologize if this is the wrong name, I think it was something called 2CI that came out I don't know when it actually came out, but was around probably like the 2010-ish time. And they say like whatever the chemical is that your body releases when you die that makes you feel like the warmth and you see the white light and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is supposed to like release that chemical in your body, but you're functioning like you know what's going on, obviously, because you're not dead. That's kind of, what if all of that is just a massive hallucination?
Scientists have come, doctors or scientists have said that, just what you said, that there really is no white light. You're not transferring over to another, to heaven or whatever you want to believe in. And there's chemicals that are released, and your eyes, there's something in your eyes that, when you die, your brain knows that you're dying, and there's some kind of reflex in your eye that causes the white light. I don't remember the full, but you know something?
They're talking about right here, it's called DMT. And so it says, taking DMT at a full dose, one capable of yielding a breakthrough experience, leads to highly variable effects. Although there's a lot of variation, we can place these effects and experiences into groups that generally outline can be provided. Full replacement of normal reality and alternate universe. And so by maybe taking DMT, and that's what they say, like it occurs in the body, your body or your brain releases that when you die, thus opening your mind, maybe your metaphysical being, that gates then open and allows you to travel to the next level.
I got a crazy theory, and I actually just saw this one recently. I didn't make it up. Like I said, I read it. So what if when you die, and that feeling of warmth and the white light and like seeing family members, like that comfort, what if all of that was you die, you're heading down a tunnel, you see this opening at the end, this white light, it's actually you being born again as a baby, being surrounded by your family. Like, that's
far out.
I can't say it's not though, because how is any other theory any different?
Right. Other people that died have, that's been dead for 30 minutes or whatever, and they've come back to life, and they've said they've seen their family members. Or when people die, and this is, very verifiable, people are saying, the family members are saying, the person said, hey, I see my mom, I see my grandmother, before they're dying. What are they seeing? Why are they coming up with, why are they saying they're seeing their grandmother, people that have been dead for 60 years?
Maybe, like I said, the gates open, and people that have already gone on can see this side, but we can't see because the gate's still closed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how we ended up here from the Man of Taured. All right, so you think it's real or you think it's bullshit?
I think I would need a lot more investigative evidence to say that it's real. Right now, I'm pretty much saying it's not real.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you got?
I'm kind of with Dan. I need some evidence, period.
Some sort of official documentation.
Yeah, something. And even then, like, so much of it's just hearsay. It's all hearsay at this point. Do I think it's possible something like this happened? Absolutely.
I'd like to believe that it's possible. I don't know if it's real or not, but like I said, I'd like to believe that
I'm actually curious where the original story came from.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Did somebody they're like, holy shit, man, this stuff happened at work. Let me tell my wife about it. And then
it happened in Japan. Maybe just somebody had too much sake or something. I don't know. But, all right. Well, that's it for this week's episode. If you like what you saw, please like, share, subscribe, and comment below. If we messed something up, please let us know. We probably did.
If you're from Taured, let us know.
Yeah, and if you're, please send us a message. We'd like to hear from you. All right, for Steve Gibson, Dan Rady, Jason Markovitz, I'm John BADZINSKI from The Mistake on the Lake. This is Type 3 TV. Over and out. Cool. Well, that's for this week's episode. All right. Well, that's it for this week's episode.